Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, broadcasting on Channels Television live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. INEC concludes supplementary election in Kogi State, declares Yahaya Bello winner and governor-elect. People's Democratic Party says INEC is wrong in declaring Yahaya Bello governor-elect in Kogi State. Bayelsans await results of governorship election, INEC still collating the figures. And airstrikes in the Syrian city of Raqqa kills at least 32 Islamic State militants. Remember, all our top stories can be found on our website, channelstv.com, and on youtube.com/channelsweb. You can also visit m.channelstv.com to view us live on your mobile device and download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS, and Windows phones from their respective stores. We also encourage you to please interact with the Channels Eyewitness feature in the Channels TV app on the Android, iOS, and Windows platforms. If you have pictures or videos you'd like to share with us, please tap the application on your device, swipe to reveal the Eyewitness menu, and follow the instructions. So here are a few pictures sent into our Eyewitness portal. Let's begin with this one, showing fuel tankers, our Eyewitness reporter says, are dangerously parked on both sides of the Mirza Mohammed Way in Calabar, Cross River State. The people of the area want concerned authorities to look into this urgently. Next is the deplorable state of a facility our witness reporter calls a part of the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, in Osun State. Students of the school are called on the federal government to help give them a hostel facelift. We'll end with a picture of the burned fuel tanker on the Ojolegba Bridge in Lagos, which resulted in a terrible inferno on Saturday. Our Eyewitness reporter wants road safety officials to keep a closer watch on the tanker drivers, especially on our highways. A big thank you for sending in those pictures, and please keep them coming. You too can become an Eyewitness reporter for Channels Television. We're in Bayelsa State now, where we'll have to wait until Monday, December 7th, before knowing the winner of the governorship election. The Independent National Electoral Commission today began collation of results in the governorship polls after voting ended in the 8 local government areas of the state. However, after the collation of results from 5 local government areas, the INEC Chief Returning Officer in Bayelsa State announced a shift in the exercise. So far, results have been collated from Kolokuma, Okpokuma, Yenagoa, Sagbama, Brass, and Ekeremo local government areas. The returning officer said collation of results from the remaining 3 local government areas will continue tomorrow by 10 in the morning. Earlier, there were reports of disruption of voting in some parts of Ijaw South local government area. That's one of the areas from where the results are still being expected. Meanwhile, the Independent National Electoral Commission could not begin accreditation in Southern Ijaw local government area earlier today. As announced, according to the Commission, some logistics hindered them from going into the area. But in Amasoma community at about 6 p.m., there were reports of shooting by suspected political thugs who attempted to hijack election materials. Police officials repelled the attack, ensuring the safety of electoral materials and observers. The Deputy Director, Inspector General of Police, Mr. Hashimu Argungu, has been speaking about the security situation in Bayelsa State and the arrest of 5 suspects believed to have instigated violence during the election in the state. He warns that the police will not condone any attempt to disrupt the remaining parts of the exercise.
I said, in the very particular area, this Southern Ijaw, where they were claiming the security agencies arrested some people getting to site. Later, after screening, they come up with 5 people and arrested with 5 AK-47. It's under investigation. That particular area. A raid was made, so that's the reason why the security men were on the ground yesterday have done what they have done. And the another area where also they mentioned under the central, the south, the senatorial district, where elections was disrupted. Instantly, one of the culprits was arrested. He's with us, and we are trying to get other incoherent offenders. What I'm saying here, those who conspire, aided, abetted in this, not only the perpetrators. The law, you have to get the party to offenders, and we're on it now. This is rumor. Even when they say the shooting, whom did you shoot? It's a mere expression of psychological projections. So up to now, I ask them, nobody. People are just, even now, people are saying this is on the ground. Even the international media mentioned to the world, 5 people were killed. I told them no. But with all this, they insisted on informing the whole world. Whereas up to now, I stand, bring the cause, bring the particulars, nobody can bring it. This is how people, it's not any country trade rumor. It's not good for that country. We're appealing you, the members of the mass, you are the bridge. You are the one to inform, you are the one to educate the members of the public to do the right thing. Please, rumor is dangerous.
2 states, Kogi and Bayelsa, held governorship elections this December. While Bayelsa is an oil-rich state and boasts of a former president of Nigeria, the other, Kogi state, is relatively large in landmass and its indigents are predominantly farmers and fishermen. Joining me now to take a look at figures and statistics from both election results in the states is a data and information analyst, Mr. Babajide Ogunsowo. Thank you for joining us on the news at 10.
Margie, thank you.
Yeah, I know that figures and, statistics actually, give you some adrenaline every time you see them. Did you notice anything unique about the elections in Kogi and in Bayelsa states? I don't know, anything that caught your eye with the results?
Lots of interesting things. This time 2 weeks ago, we were saying that if the INEC had declared Prince Audu Abubakar the winner, he will have turned out to be the oldest governor at 68. Mm-hmm. It so turns out now that Yahaya Bello will now be the youngest governor in this administration at 40. So it's a strange irony. But what you will find out about the results that have been released today is that there wasn't so much difference between what had happened during the elections before we then had the supplementary election. So the Kogi elections that we had 2 weeks ago, total valid votes came to 459,983. The APC won 52% of those valid votes. The results that we had today, we had valid votes of 13,000. The APC won about the same thing, 52%. What is strange is the voter turnout was significantly different. We moved from 38% to 33%. So less people came out to vote this time around. And by voter turnout, we're looking at the relationship between accredited voters and registered voters. Comparing to what had happened 2 weeks ago, and looking at what happened recently, that's during the supplementary elections, we had a lower voter turnout. It's also interesting to see the challenges that will be in front of Yahaya Bello right now. In 2012, when WADA came in, the Kogi State had a budget of 126 billion naira. In 2015, that has significantly dropped to 110 billion naira. The challenge here right now is the budget has significantly dropped, but population has increased within that same period of over 300,000 people. So it's a huge challenge. Yes. It's a huge challenge in front of him right now.
Yeah, but taking a look at Kogi State, which you just rightly pointed out, Yahaya Bello and the APC still defeated the PDP, even though, there were less number of people out there at the polls, and even though a supplementary election took place. What do you make of the outcome of the elections, knowing that, as you mentioned, 2 weeks ago there was an election, and then unfortunately the APC candidates passed on, and then elections held again? You would think that the opposing party would probably get more support, but instead the party in governance did win more than the opposing party, which is the PDP.
Yes, exactly. So the summary of the results in Kogi right now is out of the 21 local governments, the APC has won 15. The PDP only won 6 local governments. What you would also then find out, which we talked about earlier, is there was some high level of voter apathy, because we then could see that during the supplementary elections, less people turned out. But there's
could that be because one of the candidates died?
Possible that could have been a reason. Possible the fear of electoral violence could have also led a lot of people to stay at home. And the way it is right now, supplementary elections are like double taxations, because what happens is the average cost of a voter to conduct an election is about $7.9. And we then have Kogi State that has a registered database of voters of about 1.3 million voters. So potentially, this election could have cost as much as 2 billion naira. So every time we then have to move from not concluding an election and then having a supplementary election, in reality it's double taxation, because INEC isn't a revenue generating body. It relies on funds that are not provided by its own activity, and these are taxpayers' funds. So we need to move away from having to do supplementary elections, because it's really double taxation.
Yeah, and it really makes you wonder how they can actually keep this up, because if we're spending 2 billion on conducting supplementary elections, it means that, you know, if we have to do this again, even for Bayelsa, which had 2 days of elections, they had one yesterday and then they had to continue today in some local government areas where there was violence. It means that, I mean, well, God help us, we don't have any more elections that we have to do twice.
Oh yes, surely. It's even very scary for Bayelsa, because what we have now is, with the narrative of there having to be the margin of victory between both candidates having to be significantly higher than the number of council votes. What it then does is it creates an incentive for violence. So right now we have two strategies, or political parties have two strategies to win an election. The first strategy is to go for an outright win. The second strategy is, if you know you are losing, then you simply create enough violence to ensure that the total number of council votes is significantly higher than the margin of victory between you and the runner-up. So the current narrative of the Electoral Act, especially considering that there has to be, which it states that the margin of victory between the winner and the runner-up has to be higher than the number of council votes. So implicitly, the incentive for violence has been put in the electoral system.
And indirectly, peaceful elections actually save money.
Peaceful elections save money. Right now, what is happening in Bayelsa is extremely interesting. You have 8 local governments. By the way, Bayelsa has the least number of local governments in the country. And going by 2006 census, Bayelsa is the smallest state in the country.
Thanks for pointing that out. We'll end with that. Thank you so much, Babajide Ogunsanya, for joining us on the news at 10.
Amarachi, thank you.
And the federal government has announced plans to launch a national security campaign. The Minister of Information and Culture, Mr. Lai Mohammed, who announced this in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, called on Nigerians to take possession of the successes recorded by the nation's military in the fight against the Boko Haram militants. He assured Nigerians that the security agencies will meet the federal government's deadline to end activities of Boko Haram by the end of the year.
From the savannah plains of Kondiga to the commercial city of Bama in Borno State, the devastating activities of Boko Haram is felt all over the area. The Minister of Information and Culture embarked on an assessment tour of some parts of Borno State, which were occupied by the Boko Haram militant group. To kickstart the visit, the theater commander and general officer commanding of the 7th Division of the Nigerian Army announced the successes so far recorded by the military and some of their challenges.
Boko Haram terrorist activities have reduced drastically across the entire theater. The insurgents have further been degraded as uncoordinated artillery and air bombardment within and around the fringes of Sambisa forest continue to lead to their surrender along their families.
Building on the successes recorded by the military, the Minister of Information and Culture announced plans by the federal government to launch a national security campaign.
Terrorism is terrorism, no matter what form it takes. It's not about Islam. It's not about the North. It's not about the South. It's terrorism, and they can come in any form. We will launch a national security campaign to create awareness and let Nigerians take possession of this war.
After driving from Maiduguri through Konduga to Bama local government areas, the Minister of Information and Culture addressed a news conference in front of the palace of the Emir of Bama, who was sacked by the terrorists.
I don't think we have any doubt as to the capacity of the military to meet the deadline given by Mr. President. But we must understand that deadline in the proper context. What that deadline actually means is that by the end of this year, we would have so much decimated the Boko Haram that they will have no capacity to inflict any spectacular attack. By the end of this year, we would have liberated every inch of our territory from the hands of Boko Haram.
With the ongoing reconstruction efforts of the Borno state government to resettle the displaced persons, the federal government's delegation stopped over at the largest internally displaced persons camp in Bama to commiserate with the people. Although the areas occupied by the militants in Borno state have been liberated by the military, the effects of the insurgency will remain in the minds of residents of these areas for a long time.
When the News at 10 returns, our community report looks at the sea transport business in Okrika, River State. Please join us again.